All right, where is my camera? There we go. Good morning, y'all. I guess it's not morning for most of you.
Yes, it's afternoon. Thank you.
Sorry, didn't want that to be selfish.
I think that's also evening. I don't know.
Notes up here.
Hey everyone, Atul this side.
All right. I'm going to post the links, the notes in here. Feel free to add yourself as an attendee. Notes are in the chat. I'll continue to post those. Let's just give it a few minutes. Are all of y'all doing Platform Con and watching that? I recognize we've got some overlap.
Absolutely. We just did a live workshop too.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm trying to catch as much as I can, but I've been heads down and company things.
I went through the talks that are there, but again, since the schedules are not there, I don't know which one is coming when, sort of. So I'll go through the YouTube playlist once the talks are done. I have a talk tomorrow scheduled. I don't know what time it is, but I'm talking about platform engineering beyond tools and technology, sort of. So mostly on cultural and governance aspects.
Thank goodness. We need more of that. Posting notes. Good morning to everybody as everyone trickles in. David, are there any platform as product updates? Just getting a short
Just
agenda.
that we have the research announcement going out, and I've been away on a trip, so I was just looking for Michael to see if he has anything. Because he's been doing interviews.
Right, we'll give it 30 more seconds and then we'll jump in. And I'll once again post. The meeting notes are in the chat if you haven't had a chance to add yourself as an attendee yet. Yeah, thank you to Anonymous Goose, whoever's adding to the discussion list. Feel free if you've got a discussion item. Was that you, Nicola? I saw the reaction. Feel free to add to the discussion if somebody has something they want to talk about, and we'll kind of do a roundtable. All right, let's jump into it. Hope everyone's having a good week. A reminder that Platform Con is going on right now. We've got some obvious overlap with our meeting today, but we wanted to keep the schedule rolling. A lot of familiar faces. Is anyone new here today? Just raise your hand and let us know. So Tyler, I don't know how to say your name. Sridhar, is that how I do it?
Yes, Sridhar, yes.
Awesome. Good guess. Where are you guys joining us from? I see ThoughtWorks for Sridhar, but if you guys want to
Yeah.
introduce yourself or not, up to you guys.
Yeah, I'll go ahead first then. I'm Sridhar Kotagiri. I'm a platform product manager. I work with Sean and Brian on the same team from ThoughtWorks. For PlatformCon, yeah, so I've been following that too, and I have a talk tomorrow. I think it'll be published tomorrow on chargeback model, like tracking the value with chargeback models. Otherwise, I've been kind of practicing the platform product management for over like 5-6 years now. Otherwise, like from the technical background for 25+ years of experience. Good to meet you all.
Awesome, great to have you. Can you by chance post a link to the talk or to the schedule there under the PlatformCon item in the Google Doc? That'd be awesome, because I definitely want to catch that one.
Absolutely, yeah.
I want to see what tools you're using too. And then Tyler, it's up to you. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, for sure. Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Tyler Pates. I'm a principal site reliability engineer with Red Hat. I work on cloud native service delivery, and I'm very interested in just alternative views and perspectives into platforms. I'm coming from an SRE perspective, tasked with sort of like optimizing reliability. And I'm really interested in, well, transforming thinking around platforms and trying to get an SRE team to believe that they're actually a platform team at this point in time. And I'm really interested in sort of the customer facing aspects of internal platforms and how we can optimize these for different use cases. And yeah, I'm really interested in making it easier to communicate business value through representations of platforms, and the platforms of platforms initiative is a place that I'm very interested in right now. So from a high level, that's where I'm sitting. Thanks for letting me join up.
Yeah, thanks for coming. If we got anybody else new, it looks like Corbin and Forrest.
Yeah, I'm new. So I'll jump in. My name's Corbin Pacheco. I am from AWS. I'm a container specialist. We have kind of two flavors of specialists at AWS. We have specialist SAs and we have go-to-market specialists. I'm on the go-to-market side. And I've been doing some work around platform maturity, and probably one of the topics I'd like to bring up today if we have time. So I'll add it to the agenda. I did open an issue in the repo around this topic, and so it would be great to get some input and feedback from the community around how to measure maturity and leveraging the maturity model that we have.
Was that the maturity risk? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, the maturity risk tool item. I can
Awesome.
post to the issue in the chat as well.
Throw a link into the document as well if you can. That'd be awesome. Yeah, thanks for opening that. I'm definitely interested in that too. Let's see, and then we've got so that was Corbin. Forrest.
Hi everyone. I'm Forrest. I'm actually joining from Shanghai, China. It's 11 o'clock. It's 11 p.m. here. I am working for Ant Group, and we are the maintainer of an open source platform orchestrator tool called Cushion. We actually just had literally like 10 minutes ago, we just ended our live workshop at PlatformCon. So I will post the link here, I guess. And then we'll also have 2 talks tomorrow and Thursday, I believe, on the platform engineering strategies, mostly.
Awesome. Thanks for burning midnight oil. Yeah, definitely post those. Thanks. Rhea, I saw you there. If I'm pronouncing your name right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ria. I'm new as well. I work for Mia Platform in marketing, but also trying to move towards developer relations. And I would classify as a platform engineering enthusiast. And I'm here with Nicolo today, who we're working together in the London office. So it's nice to meet you.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for joining in. let's jump into some items here. A quick housekeeping thing. And the reason why we're talking about it today live as opposed to just doing the housekeeping. So we discovered that the events were set up incorrectly on the community page. We've been having to create, or thought we've been having to create, an individual community event for each platforms working group meeting, and that's probably why some people have gotten a lot of emails, or maybe we're aware of another issue where maybe no emails. But you're going to see a lot of cancellations of the repetitive meeting invitations. We've added a properly recurring meeting for both the second Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday events. But don't be scared when we cancel a bunch of the other events. That's really we're not actually canceling everything. We're just trying to get rid of those calendar entries, and we have no way to turn those emails off. Another thing too, quick reminder of the new working group under app delivery, which is our technical advisory group umbrella, and that's app development. So if anyone's interested on that side of the house, join the Slack, seek out that group. It's just getting started. I believe the charter has just been merged, or at least there's a pull request open for that. But the app development side is near and dear to my heart. And just like how Tyler got started from the SRE side and backed into platforms, it sounds like I very much went through that journey, but from the app development side. And so I'm really excited to see that group form. Let's see. As far as, let's see, so it looks like we changed a thing here. Who's throwing in the information about the platform schema representation? If you want to talk about that.
Yes, thank you, Colin. Just to another quick update about this topic. Last week we had a chat with some people to finish the review of the blog post. I continue to comment the same issue, and I'm going to open the PR request to publish the post in the next week, I think. And then I want to thank you a lot, all people that have contributed to the review, and yeah, that's it. The moment it's just near to the completion of the activity for a new blog post about this topic.
Awesome. That sounds great. I'm going to try to share my screen here as well as we go through some of these. Just bear with me as Zoom decides to be Zoom. I'll continue to work on that. Zoom's not letting me select my actual window. That's fun. Sorry about that. I'll figure it out as we go. Let's see. Other than that, we don't have a particular project presentation for today. It looks like we're throwing some items into the calendar. Maybe we can do a little bit of a vote or a thumbs up, thumbs down. I am interested definitely in talking about and highlighting the maturity risk tool, and addressing if you can tag if you added an item who is asking the question or putting the thing in there in the document, that would be awesome. Let's see. But it looks like we just have 3 quick topics that we can dig into. So if you do thumbs up or thumbs down, if you're interested in talking about the thing, the first topic, one that I was going to bring up, was the Spotify portal beta, and was just curious if anyone was aware of that or trying it on their end, and just wanted to have a quick discussion about that. So if anyone's interested in talking about that, give us a quick thumbs up and I'll do a cursory count. Okay, so that one's kind of low. Who wants to introduce the presentation support for introducing platform engineering?
It was me. Hi. I did request on the Slack for some people, because I have a meetup next week where I'm going to introduce for 25 minutes platform engineering. And I was wondering, should we produce some kind of support, some generic support for anyone to reuse? So Abby gave me a support. I don't remember who gave me a second one, but should we have something more official that everyone can introduce? the goal is to help people to, when you have to talk to your manager, when you have to talk to higher up or anyone technical in your company, it's difficult because you have to recreate, to sum up everything you have read. So if there is some kind of guidelines or support, I believe it could be helpful, but is it something that should be done at the working group or not?
Makes sense to
think-
me. And that seems like useful collateral that we could produce here. It would feel like a little like any of the initiatives that end up creating materials that are official. I think we'd create a subgroup and invite people to join that. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, we at
Yes,
least start with blogger content and create a discussion around that. Yep.
Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, it just to pop out a level, it's like a platform for platforms. How to create the supports necessary to create the environment you want. Yeah.
We talked about a while back too, the idea of maybe having like a platform charter. Has anyone used that concept potentially?
So I know Josh was entertaining some changes to the charter. It is several years old now. I think it was last touched in 2021, maybe, and just ready for an update. I think that's a little different with the charter for this group versus the kinds of collateral I heard from Antoine about how do you create management support by articulating the business case for platforms. Which is I don't know if I summarized what you said correctly, Antoine, but along those lines.
Yeah, when I was thinking about the concept of a charter as well, that I meant a charter that, like an example charter somebody can use for themselves on their own platform side, if that makes sense. I think there's a lot of different kinds of tools, and I think this would probably evolve into multiple tools, which we definitely need a starting point for people. And every organization is a little different too, right? So some folks might not be ready for a charter yet, but I think I continue seeing that conversation about, yeah, how do you create this discussion and talk about that thing? And we don't really have, I feel like that's a natural fit for the maturity model as well, right? If you are just getting started and you're at that level 0, you haven't defined your strategy, or you need to at least have that discussion or know where to get started, then maybe it can be presented as an artifact to be an entry point into that. There is some interesting material in the cloud native maturity model as well. I'm curious if anybody has gone through that on their own. I'll add a link to it for folks.
And this is some kind of follow-up to the feedback you gave on the Slack about socio-technical. Was it you? Yeah, it was. And it's this part. It is the socio-technical part where you are trying to not just do some technical things, but to promote it. So it's sometimes difficult for people like me coming from the infrastructure side. So it helps a lot when you have some more experienced product manager. They are used to talk to higher ups. So it would be nice to have something from created by the community.
I would agree with what Marsh said earlier. The white paper is probably like a really good starting point. It has a lot of really great content. The maturity model kind of dovetails into that. But I think the white paper is probably like the best starting point because it gives you like context about the why part.
I agree. I guess it's one of the things that, like, the why is covered really well in the white paper. How would we frame the maturity model? Is the maturity model more of the what, I guess? Or is the maturity model more of the how? I'm curious how people perceive that.
Yeah, it's a little of both, I think, right? I mean, it should give you at each stage of maturity, it kind of gives you like what it looks like, what the attributes are, right? So I think that kind of covers the what. As far as like the how piece, I think that's part of the work that I'm trying to do a little bit. So maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later in the agenda.
Yeah, I definitely want to get to that.
I think I'll agree
What's
to what Corbin said about the what and why for the maturity model. So I think we it covers both these aspects, and regarding the how part, we just give an introduction to how things can be done rather than digging the deeper surface and giving them more detail. So it's just that we are scratching the surface and telling them, hey, when you are going from 1 to 2, this is how you can do stuff to move up the ladder, but not telling them in detail. And yep, I mean, I'll agree to what Corbin said about this.
what tools do other people use to drive platform conversations? I imagine a few of us have been through that before. One tool that I use, just to kick that off, one tool that I use is a platform or a tools inventory as a way to catalog the applications and the different tools. It's amazing that companies don't actually have that sometimes, but who uses what, who's responsible for what, and that tends to create a platform as you start to move around and offload things. But that's one tool that I use. I'm curious if other people have specific tools or methods that they use for this.
What do you mean by, I mean, what do we mean by tools here? Is it the actual technology and tools that are used to build a platform, or is it kind of the frameworks to define what platform should do?
In particular, I don't approach it. My personal thing is not to approach it from the tools that will operate the platform, but the tools and the capabilities that people are using and consuming to develop and deliver software or perform their other functions. A lot of teams are siloed. They've invented their own processes. They're using their own tools to do certain things. And we like to, I like to get in there and design and develop a platform strategy in the platform itself as a way to adopt the responsibility and maintenance and management of some of those tools and capabilities for people. But we can't start that process until we know what people are already using, if that makes sense. So my inventory that I do is to work with the individual teams and do the discovery. It's frankly seems like rediscovery at some points because we know somebody in the IT organization knows all of these things, but they're not documented. So it's, hey, where's this stuff going to be documented? What are the documentation patterns that people use? What systems do people use? What developer environments? Where is the data stored, the logging? It's just a deep rabbit hole. But by surfacing those and working with the teams to identify what things they're currently using or self-maintaining and who's responsible for those, doing that inventory process allows me to create the conversation with the teams to say, this is why we're talking about this. This is what we want the interaction to look like. And you can have all kinds of conversations like, hey, we think the way you do X and Y are really strong, and we want to formalize a pattern for that and be able to provide that to other teams. So allow me to adopt some of those things. Here's how we're going to do that. This is what the platform engineering effort is all about. So for me, inventory is a great conversation starter, but it does not establish that social contract necessarily. So I really like the idea of like the charter or that contract and maybe having an example for that. But I'm also, I don't mean to monologue, sorry, but the inventory is something that is useful when you've already got some buy-in, when you know the organization is going to go down this path. And I think Antoine's point is very important of like, we need to get that conversation started somehow. And that needs to start some investment on the organization side as well. And that ties into the maturity model well. And so, an inventory or a catalog is one type of tool I use, but I'm curious if people use other communication tools or things that they can use to drive this conversation.
Nicolo, I think you had your hand up next.
Thank you. Okay, so maybe I can share quickly a slide. We use something to drive conversations on topic that we call a platform journey map or navigation map, and it
Cool.
looks something like this. So maybe just to give an idea, I don't think it's useful to dive deep into the specific content of all these cards, but it's kind of a journey comprising different aspects from more business impact to cultural and organizational evolution, so different domains of a enterprise platform journey. And this is a tool that usually, in our experience at least, helps a lot start driving some conversation and some discussion and creating even some alignment or some awareness of difference of perspective inside the customer organization. So I don't know if this can be helpful for someone. We are happy to share and elaborate on this together eventually.
I'd like to see more of that. But to go back to catalog and charter and things like that, I think it's really important to get people to start thinking about capabilities rather than systems or tools. Because if you catalog all the things that they're doing, that doesn't necessarily correlate with the needs of an organization. So a development team needs the ability to do a build, they need the ability to do testing, they need the ability to do deployments. They do not need Jenkins or Argo or what have you. So if we can, if we start coming up with a way for platform teams to represent themselves to their user population, I think it's a really great time to be able to start getting them to think about capabilities and services they provide rather than systems that they provide. Because we're at a point with platforms where we're really tipping towards tools again, in the same way DevOps and SRE and all of that have done. And if you can change the conversations by saying, this is how you represent yourself to your customers, it's about capabilities and not about the specific tools, it dovetails nicely with the platform as a product conversation too.
I totally agree. Just to clarify too on mine, so the teams are familiar with the tools first and foremost before they understand the capabilities they provide. And so we use the capabilities and the categorization and cataloging as a way to map the tools into the capabilities. And to your point, David, to drive that conversation and get them thinking about that. It's perfect. Somebody else?
Tyler, I think that is stand up.
Hey, everybody. So I just want to respond to the topic of how do you start introducing platform engineering or the presentation support around it? And I just want to provide my perspective. So I'm a leader on a team that essentially already has and built out a complete platform with capabilities and a written contract, but it's all from the perspective of an SRE mindset and for, optimizing for reliability. And so right now I'm actually using a mission and a vision update or proposed updates to the team charter to get the engineers on my team to start thinking in sort of like a product focused mindset, to start get them to think in sort of a service provider kind of mindset. We already have a lot of self-service capabilities. We already have end-to-end coverage on almost every single thing a platform might want. Less, I think, a really beautiful developer UI, but outside of that, all that stuff is there, and yet it's hard for me to get my engineers to get up from investment level 2 to investment level 3, thinking about the PEMM, because everyone is stuck in this very engineering focused mindset, and that thing I'm moving towards is getting over the product hump and getting that focus. So I'm using mission and vision as the vehicles to drive this discussion. And one other idea I have in this space I'd really like to explore using workshops around the platform engineering maturity model for particular audiences as ways to start driving conversations. And so I've done this myself, and I'm interested in figuring out how you could maybe create a rubric or a template where you have engineers talking through these things and self-identifying as a way to spark conversation and get people aligned around the ideas. That's all for me.
That all sounds great to me.
I think just to make you aware, Tyler, we do have a blog series about to start up with platform as a product. I will be doing, I said I would do the PR last time. I did get a PR in, but not for that. It was a PR for something that I need to link to from that. But we do want to start getting the ideas around starting with the problem, not the solution, basically, and start planting that and getting into some of the more specific ways of accomplishing that approach. So happy if you get in touch offline and I can preview the PR that I'm not committing to today because I just got back from a trip, but I will get a PR in tomorrow.
I'd love to participate there. And I also have some great ideas in this space. The platforms or platform of the product is space that I'm very interested in. So definitely looking to contribute
And
there.
the idea of the workshops, I think maybe there's a lot of opportunities with the platform day at KubeCon to experiment with different models for interacting with the community and some form of workshop. I had kind of floated the idea of an unconference or some more structured ways to get feedback from people about what they need from platforms as well. That's another thing I think we don't really, and that's why there's this developer experience working group forming up, because we haven't necessarily, a lot of the participants here are creators of platforms and not necessarily users. Sridhar, I think you had your hand up next.
Yeah. I just wanted to add to the conversation. What helped us in implementing platform as a product is to create that capability map for the platform engineering team, and sub-capabilities, and at a capability and sub-capability level, produce documentation as getting started, a quick start guides and things like that, and providing those interfaces, like whether it's CLI, APIs, or anything like that. And also implement an intake process, right? So for example, if there are multiple teams doing the same thing in different ways, and obviously they want to that's an extraneous load for them, right? So we want to abstract away that from different teams and standardize and provide it to the other teams. So that intake process helped us to evaluate whether it's a good enough use case to pull it into the platform where other teams can use it, and basically use that to not only catalog the capabilities, but also intake and produce those capabilities out of the platform team and platform product, basically.
Uj, I think, yeah, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, maybe two things. One thing is when we work with like end users, and when I was talking with end users, one thing that helped most was actually doing a workshop with like different levels of end users. We had all of them in there. Like we had from the developer to the engineering manager, like, or at least like kind of say a development lead, engineering lead, and a few people from platform teams, and even from like data science teams in there. And it really helped kind of getting them on one page and seeing like, okay, what are you doing right now? There is a difference between teams also, where there's like, what are some people doing, and the platform team is actually doing something completely different or something. And then kind of finding the pain points, and was actually I was surprised how easy it was for most people, even the platform teams, to pinpoint like, okay, this is super painful right now, or like, it seems all the engineers don't know that we have databases as a service, but we do have them. So it's like, oh, it's just a discovery problem, right? So from there, being able to then say, okay, we have 3 priorities, and like, let's attack these in this priority. Like, this is the 3 most painful things. And what the first one was basically discoverability, like service catalogs or something, no matter what the tool, right? And then only like automation was only the second one. Like they were like, okay, I don't care if I need to kick something off manually, but at least have people know about it first, and then I can automate it afterwards. But the other side of the thing, and I think David mentioned something around this thing, is like the platform teams oftentimes have a real hard time abstracting away from the tools, right? From the tech tools. And we, like, even people in this room, most probably we have this problem, right? It's very easy. And even your end users will come to you and you're like, hey, I want Grafana or something, right? They won't come to you with their actual jobs. And what helped us internally here, like, because we were trying to make them think about capabilities and like introducing all these concepts, and none of them stuck. It was really, really hard to get them understand, like, what am I doing here? Why is it now called capability? And they were basically calling the same thing that was a technology before now a capability. And then they're like, okay, I'm done, right? And what helped was building this user journey that I think David mentioned, was like, okay, you start creating a project, you build it and you test it. You need like these different stages of development, and going through these and saying, okay, what are the tasks that the engineers need to go through, and what are their like steps, and where are they getting stuck, or where are they getting really slow, or where do we see other issues like security issues, and then thinking about capabilities as something that can, like, over different steps, maybe introduce something, right? Like if I need to introduce better security policies, most probably I need to help them much earlier, because the security policies are there, they're not using them, right? So most probably I have like finding the usability issues and finding kind of your chain of events that helped a lot, just making it more visual. And suddenly I had engineers actually thinking about capabilities and not just the product people, because it's easy to get product people in and they think about capabilities, but the engineers are still doing the same thing. That's
the mixing of different types of personas in the same sessions really helps with that.
Yeah.
Off the cuff, it just seems like there's a lot of, so we mentioned jobs to be done in the white paper. And there's also tools like value stream mapping. There's workshop type stuff you could do that's not specific. It seems like there could be frameworks for these things, but building them and publishing them is usually a lot of work, and therefore, especially consulting companies are not super eager to open source these kinds of things. So, I don't know if there's room for, or what kind of room there is for the CNCF or working group to help create like templates for these things.
Are you suggesting that we won't be able to create them because the consulting companies we work for won't let us, or?
Yeah, I mean, and just it's not that they won't let you, well, yes and no. It's like, for me as a soloist, it'd come down to how much work is it for me to do that, and and is there any payoff in the end so that I can pay the bills? And sometimes things like this are considered proprietary, even though they're fairly structured and universal and everything. It's your execution of it that kind of matters. So, so I'm not saying anything. It just seems like there could, like the surveys that we brought up before. Why isn't the CNCF doing industry surveys? Well, maybe that conflicts with, like, what individual companies would do or research companies would do or what have you. So I'm sorry, this is a tangent we don't need to go down.
No, it's fine. I don't know the rules there either. When I hear that stuff, it makes me want to go ahead and go do it. So it's actually helpful to share. It's motivating, I think. But yeah, there's only so much time in the day, but
Yeah.
I think open source is similar as well. I think we're willing to donate a product that we've developed or something, then hopefully we're able to develop an example framework that we can donate something there. But it's good we're getting these down on paper as ideas anyway. So I encourage folks to kind of go back into the notes and maybe pick something, or try to find something that they can work on, and maybe we can try to bypass some of that. but I do agree it'll be tough. I'm in a unique position too where I get to decide what my company gets to publish. But I'm also not going to try to just do that to be like self-promoting and all that stuff. I want to do this as part of the group, because the other tools that people publish are going to be beneficial to me to use in different situations too. One of the
Marsh just put his hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Marsh.
Yeah, I just wanted I wanted to emphasize something you just said is almost a throwaway line that I was about to raise my hand and talk about anyway. I think it's really important is that it's the same tension we see with open source. Like it's difficult to give things away and figure out how you make money from it, right? And so how does that happen? It feels like open source is a natural reaction for all of the specializations that need to happen with platforms in everyone's internal IDPs. There's an aspect of tailoring it to fit your development needs, what's specific to your company and your culture, versus what's the same kind of problem we see over and over again everywhere. And I think we're wrestling here in like the repeating themes I keep hearing today are like, how do we justify the business case to management? How do we, how do we understand what capabilities might be the right ones to pursue? What's the strategy we need to define? And so this is, I think, just a collateral, not just, I don't mean to diminish it. Like it's a collateral creation problem. How do we share? And I think it comes up in these conversations. So anyway, I love a lot of the topics that have come up today. And I just wanted to point out that it's an important tension to recognize the giving away versus benefiting from. But I think we're all here because we recognize the similarities of of the needs of platform teams.
Yeah, and I want to move on next to the maturity model risk tool and reserve some discussion around that. One last reminder or thing that I've heard it a few times in some of the online talks, as well as like I'm seeing a lot of chatter on LinkedIn about it. And I just wanted to vocalize really quick that we know the fundamental concepts behind product management, tooling, platforms, CI/CD, DevOps, whatever. A lot of the things that we're drawing from are not new concepts, and that's okay. Platform engineering, really in its essence, without the name, has been around for a very, very long time, and we get that. But the fact that we're all here and that platform engineering is going through hype and it's creating new conversations, right, is hugely beneficial because we're actually able to have these conversations with other stakeholders now because of the popularization of this concept. So just bringing that back up, it's great that we can actually talk about this stuff. I just hate seeing on LinkedIn when somebody's like, platform engineering is stupid because we've been doing it for 20 years already. It's not our fault somebody figured it out. Just having fun with that. Let's jump over to the maturity model risk tool stuff, the GitHub issue. Corbin, is that you?
It is.
I'll give you the stage. If you can share your screen, do whatever you need to do.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the time. So I wanted to just make everybody aware of this piece of work that has been, I guess, kind of kicking around in the background for the last couple months, and trying to actually bring to fruition at this point. I published an issue, which is linked here, 635, around the concept of building a tool around, associated with the platform maturity model that we have today. And it has a couple of nuances, I guess, in terms of like, what's the purpose? And if you look at the issue, I tried to kind of give some level of detail here. And I've been sort of testing it out and trying to get some end user feedback as well. It's early in development. I posted a document in the issue, and what I'm looking for is some feedback around the format of the tool at this stage. So it's a few. We're going to be going through like a few different iterations. Let me just see if I can share.
Please do. Sorry about my technical challenge sharing my screen.
All right. Can you guys see my screen? See if I can get rid of this thing. Okay, so at this stage, I'd really like for folks from this community to review and comment on this document. I'm working with Abby to kind of roll this out, I guess. And we've established this rough schedule around what it would look like. And there's some descriptive information here about the target audience, the focus of the tool, etc. here. And there's an example of what it looks like. So it's a survey-based tool that asks somewhere between 5 and 10 questions that are associated with each of the 5 pillars of the maturity model. So those being like investment, adoption, interfaces, operations, and measurement. And sort of the output of this is this notion around risk. And the reason it's kind of focused around this idea of risk is, and what the risk is associated with is the risk to the platform initiative itself, right? So a lot of times when I'm working with, different organizations, they may have a platform or they may be on their 3rd iteration of a platform. And, they have specific challenges, right? And what the maturity model helps us do is kind of assess, like, where are they in their journey, right? We talked about that a couple times on the call. And what the document today, what the platform maturity model document does today is kind of show you some attributes, what it looks like to be at those maturity levels, but it doesn't really necessarily help you figure out kind of where you are without just thinking about, do I have those attributes? Do I not have those attributes, right? So these questions are trying to like kind of pull that information out and then help you assess, like, hey, I might have these different kind of areas where I should invest a little bit more, right? And based on this assessment, there may be some specific recommendations that that the organization should think about, and would help them kind of progress and become more mature, right? Enter that next phase. So that's kind of the idea. At the moment, I'm not asking for feedback on like the content, the length of the questions, or any of that stuff. We're just really trying to figure out, is this the right approach? So a survey, each of the questions is yes, no based. So it's pretty simple. It makes it so there's not a lot of like decision criteria if it was like multiple choice or other things. It's based on this concept of risk, and I think it's an interesting thing, and it's already exposed some challenges. So it's going to be great to get feedback from everybody. And I'll talk about some of the benefits of that maybe later, at a later time. And then, the concept of having some sort of prescriptive guidance, like how do I go from where I am, or if I've assessed like I have some risk items, how do I think about addressing those? Like, what are the actions or things that I need to do? So I'll just stop at this point.
Would you mind updating the issue description with a link to that? Because
Sure.
I'm not quickly finding a link to that document. I don't know if it's deeper down in the issue.
It's deeper down, but I think adding it to the description is a good idea. It'll make it easier for people to find.
Yeah.
So I have just a clarifying question on this. So just imagining, let's say we have 10 stakeholders of the platform. So the concept is here, we'll take this tool, send it out to these 10 stakeholders, then they will report back both a recommendation and a risk score for every element inside of the maturity model. Is that the concept?
No, so the concept is that this can be used in one of two ways. It could be used as a self-assessment tool, or it could be used in more of a consultative fashion. And so the way that I've used it so far, and just in terms of like exploring this as a concept, is going to an organization, bringing together all the stakeholders, right? So the platform team, an end user, different folks from the organization that have a stake in the platform engineering initiative, and performing this interview all at once, right? So collecting one set of results, and then based on those results, having an output. The output is this sort of risk like graph, if you will, and then taking that risk graph and determining where do I prioritize my work to get to that next level of maturity. So that's sort of the concept.
Got a hand raised, Julio.
Yes, thank you. It's interesting model. I'm asking about the risk because in my experience, risk is something that has a probability as an impact also. And what is interesting is to understand if this is a risk matrix in some way or is something different, is there a recommendation to move forward for another step of maturity, then is not a risk. Because you can accept the risk or mitigate the risk in some way, or you can move forward because you want to have much more return of investment for your platform engineering initiative. But I think that are two different aspects. In that case, the second case is not a risk. It's just a decision how much your investment must return in the long-term vision. I don't know. This is a point about not the content, but the format, the name. Yeah.
Yeah. So it has come up a few times, and I think it's really great feedback. And if you can put it here, that would be super helpful. I think it has been difficult in some ways to describe this notion of risk. The risk is to the initiative itself. It's not to the business or other things that we often associate risk with when we talk about platforms, right? When we talk about platforms, we talk about things like reliability, observability, scalability, like things like that are probably more in the sort of operations bucket or operations excellence kind of category. But like what you often see in organizations is their platform initiative can fail, right? And so the notion of risk is associated with how healthy is my platform initiative, right? And maybe risk is not the best way to categorize that, but what I found is by producing the output, maybe I can show that at a future meeting. It actually is different than like a scoring mechanism, right? So when we think about the maturity model and we say, hey, we're in, operational category number 2, we're in investment category number 1 or number 2, like whatever, it doesn't inspire us to do anything necessarily, right? Whereas this notion of risk kind of shows you, hey, like it looks like the 3 areas where I really need to maybe spend some time focusing is on investment, measurement, and adoption, right? And I can see that in sort of a visual way, which I can show you guys at a future time. But it shows me that in sort of a visual way where I can say, okay, these are some things that I might need to work on that would help me like improve the health of my initiative and, propel me into the next level of maturity.
I think that the fitness, maybe the fitness, you're aware about fitness function in software development and the fitness function for platform engineering. I don't know. I will write in the comments. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We're getting close to the end of time. Just a quick 5-minute warning, but we've got Marsh and Pooja have their hands up.
Yeah, thanks. I wanted to. I was going to say something similar to what Julio was saying, so I'll riff on what both you and he just went back and forth on. Like in some ways, this is about the opportunities, right? It's one thing to frame it as risk, and risk may be motivating in specific ways, but what are the opportunities you're seeing? How do you know that, for instance, if it is a risk or if it is, I mean, they're kind of flip sides of the same thing, but if it is a risk, how can you live with it? Like, why is this the thing that you should prioritize? So I think it comes down to a couple of questions here. Like, I think there's something intrinsic to the maturity model that is important to keep in mind. I don't think you violated it here. Just that the idea is that maturity isn't something you necessarily aspire to reach a higher level of maturity. It's a question of how do you understand where you are and have some ways and tools to evaluate what you might prioritize next, where those opportunities are for your organization. So I think I'm saying what you and Julio just said back and forth in a slightly different way. I think I don't know if you're familiar on the call, if people on the call are familiar with the Choose Your Own Adventure series of books, right? Where you can decide where you are at any time and what options you might take from there. I think that's a fun way to think about the problem too, because platforms are going to be highly varied in how they need to meet the needs of the organizations they're located in. Okay, I'll cede the floor to whoever's next.
Yeah, one area that I'm interested in this too is thinking about it from a readiness standpoint. It might be easier for me than a risk standpoint, at least kind of the out of the gate. Talking with companies that they don't even have a way to measure their software development lifecycle or anything yet. They don't even know what their organization looks like, and they've just decided, hey, we're going to do a platform, and they're just not ready for it at all, and it's going to fail. There's some work in the cloud native maturity model that discusses that lightly. It's not called out directly. There were some discussions before the last KubeCon with updates to the cloud native. This is the cloud native maturity model, not the platform's maturity model, right? And it's the cloud native maturity model is really focused on organizational readiness and capabilities. And so again, I'd encourage folks to kind of read through that if you can. But they talk about this concept of the messy middle, and it's not until like you get to level 3 or 4 out of 5 where it becomes viable for somebody to even begin to create platform capabilities. So just interesting there. Wanted to vocalize that too for you, Corbin. Any last questions or comments on that before we take things out? Cool.
I think Nicolo was asking if we can have a few more minutes for the PAP research update, or at least maybe some of us who still have time.
No, thank you for the reminder. Yeah, David, were you waiting on somebody else to give that?
No, I can give a quick update. There have been some interviews going and some different scripts being created for different personas. We started out with the platform builder, and now there's like platform leader, platform user, or the need for those. And we're about to send out a blog post announcing or inviting people to participate. And we should be next scheduling something internally with the channel that we created for people who are interested in interviewing. If you are interested in interviewing, just ping me and we can add you to that channel. And I see things ramping up in the next few weeks, and we'll be figuring out a plan for what to present at KubeCon on Platform Day.
By the way, if you need more people or companies that as interviewees, I was talking to the end user tab, and they're very open to intro
Excellent.
you to
people. That'd be great. We need end users.
I was talking to Joseph, and he's like happy to do intros. He's
Great.
leading the end user tab these days.
Okay.
Like if you need an intro, just ping me, and then I'll intro
Great.
on Slack.
That was the reason of my question as well. I have at least one platform leader from a large US software organization, some 100 developers, willing to participate and being interviewed. But I don't know if we can organize it directly. He needs to submit the form.
We have at least, even until the blog post goes, I don't know what other steps there are for publishing. There is a blog post PR, but we have the link for the form people can fill out to express their interest. And I think it was in your it was somewhere advertised in your the recent conference, the MIA platform conference. So that same link, if you send that to them, they can sign up.
Okay, great.
Cool.
Any
Well,
other questions?
Thank you, everybody, for attending today. Please join the Slack channel. If you're not in there, happy to continue the conversation there. It's always nice when we still have things I'm sure we can talk about at the end of the call, but for the nature of time, that's why we do these every 2 weeks. Definitely please get into the channels. And I'm going to go ahead and create the next entry in the notes for the next meeting. If you want to add discussion topics, feel free to do so, and we'll curate those ahead of time. But thanks everybody for joining today. I hope you guys have a good platform con.
See you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.